Welcome to the deep dive. It's genuinely kind of mind-blowing when you consider how insights from thousands of years ago can still feel so relevant, almost cutting edge sometimes.
Absolutely.
And that's precisely what we're digging into today. Our focus is on the Diamond Sutra, a really foundational Buddhist text. But we're approaching it through, well, the wisdom of Master Ching Kung's commentary.
Yeah.
And for you, our listener, especially if you value, getting knowledge efficiently, our goal here is to pull out the absolute core understandings from this commentary, stuff that really matters.
And what's fascinating right from the get-go is how Master Ching Kung's commentary really helps us understand the context around the Diamond Sutra. We'll explore how ancient Buddhist scholars organized the Buddha's vast teachings. There's a system called Pan Jiao.
Pan Jiao, okay.
Yeah, and it's actually a really insightful approach to learning itself. Then we'll look at the incredible story of Kumarajiva, the translator who gave us the version of the sutra most of us actually read.
Oh, the translator, right.
And finally, we'll try to synthesize the central point, the ziki, they call it, the main thrust of the Diamond Sutra as Master Ching Kung presents it.
Okay, Pan Jiao classifying the teachings. When I first hear that, it sounds a bit, academic, like library cataloging or something.
Yeah.
But the commentary suggests it was actually rooted in a real spirit of guidance. What's the core idea?
Exactly. It wasn't just about sorting books. Think of it like this. The Buddha taught for 49 years. That's a massive amount of material, right?
It's huge.
So the purpose of Pan Jiao, as Master Ching Kung emphasizes, was really to create a kind of roadmap for beginners. Imagine trying to learn, say, quantum physics without any structure. You'd be totally overwhelmed.
Yeah, absolutely lost.
So these ancient masters wanted to distinguish the foundational teachings from the more advanced stuff, the initial steps on the path from the deeper explorations, just make it easier for everyone to start and then progress. The school curriculum analogy kind of works, but there's an added layer. Buddhist scriptures, especially the Mahayana ones, aren't just linear. You can revisit them at different stages of your understanding and get totally new, deeper insights each time. It's not like finishing Algebra 1 and never looking back.
That makes sense. So it wasn't just about difficulty level, like easy versus hard. The commentary mentions root capacity and timing as key considerations.
Mm-hmm.
What do those actually mean?
Precisely. It's more nuanced. Root capacity. Well, that speaks to the different inherent abilities people have and also the varying levels of karmic obstacles and delusion that individuals carry.
Okay, so like natural aptitude plus baggage.
Kind of, yeah. Some people might naturally grasp concepts more quickly, or maybe they have fewer ingrained negative habits, while others face, bigger hurdles. The ancient classifications broadly recognized superior, medium, and inferior capacities.
Gotcha.
And then timing is about presenting the right teaching at the right moment, under the right circumstances. Master Ching Kung uses the 5 periods of the Buddhist teaching to illustrate this idea of progression really well.
The 5 periods? Okay, that sounds like a structured journey. Can you give us a quick rundown of that progression?
Sure. So the first period, right after the Buddha's enlightenment, was the teaching of the Flower Garland Sutra, the Weinong. He taught this while he was in samadhi, this deep meditative state.
Wow.
Yeah. And this teaching was incredibly profound, directly addressing the realm of, fully enlightened beings. It was just way beyond what ordinary people, even many spiritual practitioners at the time, could grasp.
So not exactly Intro to Buddhism 101.
Not at all. Master Ching Kung shares this story about Nagarjuna Bodhisattva encountering the original Huayan in the Dragon Talus. Supposedly, it contained verses equivalent to 10 times the number of dust motes in a whole major world system.
10 times the dust motes.
Wiki.
I can't even picture that.
It's mind-boggling, right? So the version we have now is considered just a condensed essence. It really makes you think about the sheer scale of the teachings.
It really does. Okay, so what came next? Did things get a bit more grounded?
They did. Following that initial super high-level teaching, the Buddha, out of immense compassion, shifted gears. He went to the deer part and taught the 4 Noble Truths to 5 of his early disciples. This is often likened to starting at a more basic level, the kindergarten level almost, with the Gama Sutras.
Okay, makes sense. Building blocks.
Exactly. Then, as his listeners' understanding deepened, he moved on to the more expansive teachings, the Vaipulya Sutras. The fourth period brought the wisdom teachings, and this is where our text, the Diamond Sutra, fits in. And finally, the Lotus Sutra and the Nirvana Sutra are seen as kind of converging back towards the really profound insights of the Flower Garland Sutra, representing a kind of culmination. So you see this very thoughtful unfolding of wisdom tailored to different capacities and times.
It really paints a picture of a master teacher adapting constantly. And from this journey, different schools of classification emerged, like you mentioned, the Tiandayan and Huayan schools. The commentary touches on them. What were their main takes on where the Diamond Sutra fits?
Right. So while various systems popped up, Tiantai and Huayan became really influential, especially after the Tang dynasty. The Tiantai school, for example, used a four teachings framework. Tripitaka, shared, distinct, and perfect.
Okay.
And their view was that the Diamond Sutra actually covers aspects of the shared, distinct, and perfect teachings. So it's got fundamental principles, but also these advanced insights leading right to ultimate understanding.
So versatile.
Very. Then the Huayan school, also known as Jiang, they used a five-teaching system: small, beginning, final, sudden, and perfect. They mostly placed the Diamond Sutra in the beginning teaching. That's the early Mahayana focus on emptiness.
Right.
But they also saw its connection to the perfect teaching, highlighting its ultimate goal. So even within Buddhism, you had these different perfectly valid lenses for understanding the teachings. It just shows how rich and deep the tradition is, you know?
Definitely. And Master Ching Kung's commentary also brings in this other perspective from Jiang, who apparently studied for 40 years before offering his classification. How did he see the Diamond Sutra?
Yeah, Jiang Jushi's view is quite distinct. He classified the Diamond Sutra as the great teaching of ultimate perfection and suddenness.
Wow, that sounds significant.
It does, doesn't it? He saw its key characteristics as, well, the non-duality of subject and object, the simultaneous stopping of delusion and manifestation of wisdom, a really deep grasp of the emptiness of all realms, and the complete fulfillment of all practices all rolled into one.
So incredibly profound.
Exactly. And Master Ching Kung emphasizes Jiang Jushi's belief here, that those who truly get the sutra's meaning, who have unwavering faith in it, and can actually uphold its teachings in their lives, they possess the capacity for this incredibly profound, direct path to enlightenment. It suggests the Diamond Sutra isn't just another scripture. It holds a particularly potent, almost immediate path for those who are ready for it.
That idea of classification really does highlight the immense scope of the Buddha's wisdom and the real care taken to make it accessible. Okay, let's shift focus now to the translator. The person who brought us the Diamond Sutra in its most widely known Chinese form, Kumarajiva. The commentary points out his significance and the historical backdrop, the Yaoqian dynasty. What's important to understand there?
Kumarajiva is absolutely central. He's the translator of the version that became by far the most influential in the Chinese Buddhist world. Yaoqian refers to the later Qin dynasty, which is around from 384 to 417 CE under Emperor Yaoxing.
Yeah.
And Master Ching Kung recounts the story. Kumarajiva was actually sought after by the former Qin dynasty first, but because of various political upheavals and wars, well, let's just say his journey was delayed. He ended up spending years in Liangzhu before finally arriving in Chang'an, the capital of the later Qin, in 401 CE.
So a bit of a detour.
A significant one. But that historical period under Emperor Yaoxing was crucial. It provided the stable environment and, importantly, the imperial support needed for Kumarajiva to do his monumental translation work.
And his title, Tripitaka Master, the commentary makes a point that this isn't just a nice name, right? It signifies something quite deep, academically and spiritually.
Oh, absolutely. Tripitaka Master is a heavyweight title. It signifies profound mastery of the three baskets. The Tripitaka, that's Sutra, the Buddha's discourses, Vinaya, the monastic rules and discipline, and Abhiharma, the philosophical and psychological analysis.
Okay, the three main categories.
Exactly. And as Master Ching Kung points out, these three directly correspond to the cultivation of samadhi, which is concentration, Vinaya, ethical conduct, and prajna, wisdom. So it's not just about book learning, it reflects a really deep level of understanding and practice across the whole spectrum of Buddhist teachings. The Tripitaka acts as a benchmark, for guiding your practice and also for verifying spiritual attainments.
So the scriptures and the rules, they aren't just abstract ideas. They're practical guides for how to live, how to think. The commentary even quotes Master Shandao about sticking to the scriptural meaning.
Precisely. Master Shandao really stressed that the ultimate authority is the Buddha's teaching as recorded in the scriptures. He said even the interpretations of great scholars or, highly realized arhats should be checked against the direct meaning of the sutras. That shows how foundational the scriptures are.
That's a strong statement.
It is.
Yeah.
And Master Ching Kung also helpfully clarifies some other terms like Dharma master and upataya, often just translated as monk or teacher. Dharma master is actually a general term. It could be anyone, ordained or lay, who teaches the Buddha's Dharma.
Oh, okay.
But upataya, that refers more specifically to a close personal teacher who guides you in your Buddhist practice, and that role isn't exclusively for ordained people. Master Ching Kung even mentions his own teacher, the lay Buddhist Li Bingyan, was his upataya.
Interesting distinction.
Yeah. And he also makes a point to say we should really reserve the title Great Master exclusively for the Buddha himself. These distinctions, they help us understand the different roles and maybe levels of spiritual authority within the tradition.
Those clarifications are really useful. Now tell us a bit more about Kumarajiva, the person. The commentary mentions his Sanskrit name, his pretty remarkable early life. What stood out?
Kumarajiva's Sanskrit name meant child old, which is quite evocative, isn't it? Like someone with ancient wisdom, even as a kid. He was ordained incredibly young at age 7.
7?
Yeah. And apparently had a photographic memory or something close. The commentary says he could recite 1,000 gethas. Those are short verses summarizing teachings every single day.
Wow. That's a lot.
Incredible memory. And he wasn't just learned in Buddhist scriptures. He knew secular knowledge, too. As we said, he got to Chang'an in 401 CE, and Emperor Yaoxing held him in such high regard he was basically treated as the national teacher. And in a relatively short time, about 7 years before he passed away, Kumarajiva oversaw the translation of a staggering 98 scriptures, over 390 volumes.
In 7 years. That's unbelievable, I think.
It's phenomenal. And his translation style, known as intentional translation, yi, was key. He focused on conveying the essence and meaning in fluent, natural-sounding Chinese rather than a super literal, clunky translation. That's a huge reason why his versions became so popular and impactful. They just read beautifully.
And there's even this tradition connecting him to past Buddhas, right? Which seems to speak to a really deep connection to the Dharma itself. What's the significance of that?
Yes. That tradition suggests Kumarajiva had actually been a translator for the previous 7 Buddhas. It implies this incredibly deep, unbroken connection to the Buddha's wisdom across countless lifetimes. And Master Ching Kung emphasizes something crucial here. Accurate translation of the Buddha's teachings requires more than just linguistic skill. It requires personal realization, what they call awakening Buddha.
So you have to understand it deeply yourself.
Exactly. He contrasts this with some modern translation efforts where, someone might be academically brilliant with languages but lack that deep experiential understanding of the Dharma, and the translation just falls flat. He even gives an example of an English translation of Master Tangsu's work that wasn't well received, apparently. It highlights this need for what's called Buddha's empowerment, Foli Jiachi.
Buddha's empowerment.
Yeah, it's this idea that this kind of blessing or support arises when the translator has a really sincere, pure aspiration that's aligned with the Buddha's own intention to benefit beings. It shows that translating Dharma isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's a deeply spiritual practice in itself.
It really underscores how extraordinary Kumarajiva's contribution was. Okay, finally, let's get to the core message. The Zik of the Diamond Sutra itself, as presented in Master Ching Kung's commentary. He draws on Master Tangsu's summary, highlighting 3 key aims, starting with detachment from appearances, Li Sheng. What's the practical meaning of that?
Right. Master Tangsu laid out these 3 core aims. The first, Li Sheng, detachment from appearances, is seen as absolutely crucial for achieving liberation, jituj, and also for eliminating karmic obstacles, xiao zuyei.
Okay, liberation and clearing karma. How does it work?
It's accomplished by practicing all good deeds, being generous, ethical, patient, etc., but without any attachment to the forms they take. No attachment to the results or even to the idea that I'm the one doing the good deed.
Doing good without expecting anything back or even taking credit.
Exactly. As the commentary puts it, Li Sheng detachment is fundamentally about cultivating wisdom, by contemplating emptiness, guankun. But, and this is key, it's not just about emptiness. It has to be coupled with shushan, cultivating goodness, but without dwelling in that emptiness, buzuchung. That's how we cultivate merit, Jifu.
So wisdom and merit together. not just one or the other.
Precisely. The commentary even quotes that line, homage to the Buddha, the two-footed honored one, Gui Fo Er Zusun. The 2 feet represent the Buddha's perfect balance of wisdom and merit. It also points out that, just cultivating merit without wisdom might lead to good rebirths, maybe wealth or status, but not necessarily to liberation from the cycle of suffering.
Right, you'd still be stuck, just in a nicer part of the cycle.
Exactly. So Li Xiong, detachment wisdom, is seen as the primary practice, while Xu Shan, cultivating goodness merit, is the essential supporting practice. It's how we engage with the world actively, but without getting tangled up in its illusions.
That makes sense.
And the commentary adds a couple of really interesting points here. One is that even seemingly fixed karma, dingye, can actually be transformed. But this requires seeing one's true nature, that awakening we talked about.
Okay, so deep insight can change even seemingly inevitable outcomes.
That's the idea. And perhaps most powerfully, it suggests that having unwavering faith and vowing to be reborn in the pure land of ultimate bliss, Amitabha Buddha's pure land, is actually equivalent to reaching the level of a 7th or 8th ground bodhisattva.
Wow, that's a very high level.
Extremely high. And the implication is that for such a person, their fixed karma has already been transformed. It really highlights the incredible power and accessibility of the Pure Land recitation practice.
Okay, that's Lei Qian. The second core aim mentioned is non-abiding wuzu, which is linked to developing prajna wisdom. How does this differ from just being detached?
That's a really important distinction. Wuzu, non-abiding, is more like the active application of that detachment in real time. It's about how we engage with the world moment by moment.
Okay, so detachment is the state. Non-abiding is the practice.
You could put it that way, yeah. The guiding principle here is that famous line from the sutra. Abiding nowhere, yet give rise to the mind. Yengu sumzu, er sheng kijin. It means our minds shouldn't get stuck, shouldn't cling or fixate on any particular thought, feeling, experience, or concept.
So letting things flow through without grabbing onto them.
Exactly. By practicing this non-abiding acting, giving, relating to others, thinking, feeling, but without clinging to the act, the giver, the receiver, the thought, the feeling, then our inherent wisdom, our prajna, naturally starts to shine through. It's about living with a mind that's open, flexible, not constantly trying to nail things down.
It sounds challenging, but also incredibly freeing.
It is. And that leads us to the third aim. No dharma, woof wee, which leads to realizing the dharmakaya. This sounds like it really gets to the heart of the teachings on emptiness. It absolutely does. Wu-fi, which we can translate as no phenomena or maybe transcendence of all concepts, leads ultimately to the realization of the dharmakaya, fi. That's the unconditioned ultimate reality of Buddhahood. And realizing this brings freedom from all suffering, tu shu kin.
How does understanding no dharma achieve that?
It arises from directly recognizing that all phenomena, everything we perceive, everything we conceive of, everything is empty of inherent independent existence. They don't have a solid reality on their own. They arise interdependently, like reflections in a mirror or echoes.
The classic emptiness teaching.
Exactly. It's the core of the Prajnaparamita, the perfection of wisdom teachings. You see it in the Heart Sutra's famous line. By realizing this emptiness, all suffering is transcended. So wufayama essentially means letting go of all our conceptual frameworks, all the mental boxes we constantly try to stuff reality into. When we let go of those distinctions and attachments, what's left is the pure, unobstructed dharmakaya. It's about seeing reality as it truly is, beyond our limited mental labels and constructs.
Wow, okay. The commentary then really emphasizes a crucial step.
Yeah.
Breaking the 3 minds and relinquishing the 4 attachments. These sound like fundamental shifts in how we see everything. What are they and why are they so important?
Absolutely fundamental. Breaking the 3 minds, realizing that the past mind, the present mind, and the future mind are ultimately unobtainable. They aren't solid things we can grasp.
Past, present, future, unobtainable.
Yeah. And letting go of the 4 attachments, attachment to a fixed idea of self, attachment to others as truly separate beings, attachment to the idea of sentient beings as fixed categories, and attachment to the notion of a lasting lifespan or time. These are presented as absolutely essential prerequisites for even beginning to cultivate the genuine aspiration for enlightenment.
Why are they such roadblocks?
Well, the commentary explains that our ordinary, deluded mind constantly chases after the past, which is already gone. It tries to cling to the present, which is constantly changing, slipping away, and it worries endlessly about the future, which hasn't even arrived yet. The Diamond Sutra itself flat out declares these 3 minds are unobtainable. Master Ching Kung underscores this. Realizing their unobtainability is the very root of eliminating both negative karma and delusion.
That's powerful. And the 4 attachments.
They're described as just as illusory. The idea of a permanent, independent self and the idea of truly separate others are just relative concepts. They only exist in relation to each other. Sentient beings, the commentary points out, actually encompasses all conditioned phenomena, not just animals, but plants, minerals, even natural events like weather, anything that arises from the coming together of causes and conditions, and therefore they're all impermanent.
So not just people and animals.
Right. And lifespan, this idea of a continuous flow of time we exist within, is also ultimately impermanent. The sutra uses those famous similes like a dream, an illusion, a bubble, a shadow, like dew, or a flash of lightning. They're fleeting.
Dream, bubble, dew, lightning.
Yeah.
Beautiful imagery for impermanence.
Isn't it? And the crucial point the commentary stresses is that both the things we get attached to and the mind that does the clinging are illusory. Neither side of the equation is solid. Realizing this truth directly, experientially, is what leads to liberation. It allows our true nature, sometimes called our original face before our parents were born, to manifest.
So it's not about destroying something, but revealing what's already there.
Exactly. It's often described as a simultaneous process. Breaking through delusion is revealing truth. You remove a layer of illusion, and a corresponding aspect of reality shines through. Now, the commentary does add a practical note. While the understanding of this might be sudden, like a flash of insight,
Right.
the actual process of untangling ourselves from lifetimes of habitual attachments, these deep-seated habits of clinging, that usually requires gradual, consistent effort, applying the teachings day by day.
That makes sense. Sudden insight, gradual cultivation.
Precisely.
Okay, so the commentary wraps up with this really powerful encouragement for listeners, for us to deeply understand these core principles, to cultivate unwavering faith, to diligently practice them, and also to share these teachings with others. Why is that part, the sharing, so important?
Master Ching Kung emphasizes that by doing all of this understanding, having faith, practicing, and sharing, we are actively participating in carrying on the Buddha's work, the Buddha's mission in the world. It's how we gain access to this most profound and rare dharma, how we purify our own negative karma, how we accumulate immense blessings and merit, and ultimately how we pave our own way towards attaining unsurpassed bodhi, complete enlightenment. It's presented as, really, the most meaningful and transformative path one can possibly take.
So to kind of recap our deep dive today, we've journeyed through quite a bit. We explored the ancient wisdom behind classifying the Buddha's vast teachings, Pan Jiao, to make them accessible. We looked at the incredible life and dedication of the translator Kumarajiva, who made the Diamond Sutra resonate through centuries.
Yeah, his contribution was immense.
And we've unpacked the essential message of the Diamond Sutra itself, guided by Master Ching Kung's commentary. This crucial importance of detaching from appearances while still actively cultivating goodness.
The Lixiang and Xishan balance.
Right. Then the power of non-abiding wuzu in our daily lives as the key to unlocking inherent wisdom.
Not getting stuck.
And finally, that ultimate understanding of emptiness, wu fui, which transcends all our conceptual limitations and leads to true freedom.
Absolutely. And what's really significant here, I think, is how these ancient insights, so carefully preserved and transmitted through the efforts of countless dedicated scholars and translators like Kumarajiva, continue to offer such a profound and, importantly, practical path for understanding ourselves and the nature of reality even today.
Yeah.
For you, our listener, especially if you're seeking knowledge that truly makes a difference, grasping these foundational elements, the context, the core message, really provides a solid framework. It's a powerful basis for any further exploration into Buddhist wisdom and really for your own journey of personal and spiritual growth.
This has been a truly enriching exploration. Thank you. And it leaves me kind of pondering this thought. Given the Diamond Sutra's really profound emphasis on non-abiding, on wuzu, how might we look at even our most doubly held beliefs and identities, the very stories we tell ourselves about who we are, and consider how maybe, just maybe, letting go of those fixed narratives could open us up to a deeper, more fluid, perhaps more authentic understanding of ourselves and the world around us?
That's a fantastic question to sit with. Letting go even of cherished ideas.
Yeah, definitely something to consider as we move forward. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.